And it is another evening of A Course in Miracles. So it is Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And it's been kind of a edgy day all day today. We've had some events in this material world that are pretty horrific. And unfortunately, you know, we have to be able to look at those things and realize that what was going on in this world of illusions was just that. It is an illusion. It may be hard to try and rectify that in our thinking, but, you know, at the ground level, at the bottom line, we just have to go back to love and immerse ourselves in love and immerse those who have experienced these events that we see going on in the world around us. So starting off on another discussion from the book and about the book, and the book is about you. It's A Course in Miracles. And I see I've got a few people who've shown up here. It's wonderful to have you join me. And well, I think it will. I think it will. I think eventually love will overcome hate, and I do believe that ultimately we'll come to that next level of awakened awareness. It's just a response to a little bit of a flat tire that somebody posted there on the timeline. Anyway, we're going to start off tonight with the lesson number 45, which is the lesson for today, February 14th, 2018. My goodness, it seems like just yesterday that we were bridging our way up to approach the millennium, and now we're 18 years past it. Time does fly. Anyway, what we're looking at here in lesson 18, and this is a key lesson, and this actually we can kind of factor into some of the events in our own lives that are challenging for us, and challenging also in the sense of looking at the lives of those around us and feeling that desire to reach out and help. So the lesson for today is God is the mind with which I think. And that's kind of a stunning statement into itself. You know, when we're thinking in our right mind, in our correct level of awareness, we are thinking with the mind of God, because that's what our mind is. God shared his mind with us. And there's, you know, there's that little tiny fraction that occurred in this descent into the dream, where our mind became split. And we're always listening to the split part, that little tiny fraction that wanted separation, wanted to experience aloneness, and ultimately discovered that within that aloneness there is a lot of tragedy, a lot of horrors that we have to address. We can't ignore them. They won't go away. So today's idea starts off with today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They're nothing that you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. So we're looking at that dichotomy of sight versus vision, and real thinking, which is thinking aligned with God, as opposed to the brain chatter that this little fragmented ego part of the mind is constantly presenting to us. Says there is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. So we are in such a complete state of disconnect from our source within this dream that we have created, that we don't realize that our constant ongoing thinking process within the divine mind is based on something entirely separate and apart from our day-to-day experiences. Nothing that you think, nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what vision will show you. So basically, we're again relying on the sensory input. And I've said this on many occasions. If you can see it, taste it, smell it, hear it, or touch it, it's not real. That's again a part of that projection that the mind has created for us. And when we created this dream, we created an experience that was so visceral and so completely compelling that it's hard for us to be able to step back and question, to just question, am I seeing what is real? So as we, start to engage in those questions, then we start moving in a trajectory that takes us into a realm that is so entirely different than the realm that we are experiencing here that it's astonishing. And the whole process of vision is experiential. In other words, when you are experiencing vision, you are experiencing being that which you are observing. And that's significantly different from our sensory input level, where we are observing separate from that which is being observed. So it's going into deeper and deeper levels of recognition of truth and reality. So the second paragraph here gives us this next thought. You think with the mind of God, therefore you share your thoughts with him, as he shares his with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. So once again, it's telling us that our mind and God's mind are intimately linked, that our mind is a part of God's mind. To share is to make alike or to make one. So whenever we are thinking in our true mind, thinking in our right mind, we are sharing with God, and within that we are sharing with all of the sonship, all of the infinitude of God's children, which of course we are. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. So you're having a whole experience separate and apart from this life that is ongoing, that is ecstatic, that is filled with joy, that is filled with unity, that is filled with harmony, and you're oblivious to it. So how can you gain access to that realm? How can you reclaim the true experience of what your life consists of? Goes on to say, therefore your thoughts are in the mind of God, as you are. So you exist in God's mind. You are one of an infinite number of concepts that God has of itself, because God created you in God's image. They are in your mind as well, where he is. So God dwells within your mind. And as soon as you can get past your fear of experiencing that reunion with God, you will be able to reclaim the experience of knowing God intimately. As you are part of his mind, so are your thoughts part of his mind also. Where then are your real thoughts? So if you're thinking about, getting rich or getting laid or getting this or getting that, getting your Valentine and going off and snuggling in a snow pile somewhere, then obviously God is not participating in those thoughts. So where are your real thoughts? Where do they exist at? Today we will attempt to reach them. We will have to look for them in your mind. So they exist in your mind. It's just that you're not looking in that right area of the mind. They must still be there because they cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation. So you've got this whole realm of thinking and existing and experiencing creation and co-creating with God that you are completely unaware of. So the practice periods are what are given to us as a part of the lesson plan, and it's actually kind of an exciting adventure when you put these principles into motion. Because from my experience, I have never experienced a time when they did not work. You have to be focused, you have to be committed, you have to be on board. But if you aspire to attaining this next level of awakening that is outlaid for you here in the course, then you will see results. Pardon me. We will try also to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. See, that's where the conflict comes in. Our ego is constantly telling us, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to go here, we want to do all these separate things that are not infused with the collective, infused with God. And the truth is, to be with God is to be complete. So as we're trying to work our way into this next level of awakening, we have to put a little bit of attention on that idea that all these thoughts of separation that are constantly going on in our mind, objectification, this sense of something being apart from us, is the real world that we believe we're living in. So there is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. So whenever you're doing any of these exercises with A Course in Miracles, you should feel confident, because it is God's will that you awaken. It is God's will that you begin the journey back home. This is not something that is just happening from a lower level of consciousness or a separate level of consciousness. This is something that you are participating in with God. And when you stop and think about that, put that into perspective, what can stop you if you are one with God? It goes on to say, we will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. It is the will of God. And so with the exercise, we go into this quiet zone where we're relaxed. And we give ourselves a little prompt. And that prompt comes up with, my real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them. And then just observe what the thoughts are. The real thoughts will come through more as experiences, more as a sense of being, whereas the brain chatter, the ego thoughts that are constantly going on is just, this rampage of silliness. And we don't resist the silliness, we just observe it, because after a few minutes it will start to dissolve, it'll start to slow down, and eventually we will move to a deeper level. And within that deeper level, we will begin to experience things rather than as separate thoughts, but as a deeper sense of beingness. And that's what our real thoughts are. Those experiences of being peace, being love, being harmony, being at one with the vastness of the universe. Those are the things that we are looking for, that we're going to aspire to. So as you're moving along here, if you've been looking at the lessons, you can find them online at acourseinmiraclesnow.com, and you can find the whole course there. There's no reason to have to run out and buy the book if you're still somewhat skeptical as to whether or not you want to participate in this particular avenue. You can go online and try it out for yourself. Don't make a snap judgment. Don't assume that what I'm telling you is everything that you need to know, or anybody else is telling you what you need to know. Go to the source itself. Go online, check out what the Course in Miracles says, and start playing around with the lessons and see what happens. Because you will begin to feel a much different level of experience in life once you start putting these things into application. And once again, when we are going through events like the horrific events there in Florida today, we do need to get to a place where we anchor ourselves on a level of support rather than attack and revenge. You know, it's very easy to fall into that trap of condemning all the NRA people and condemning all of the Republicans and condemning all of the Democrats. And, you know, condemnation is not the point of what we are trying to do. The point of what we are trying to do is to heal these circumstances that are reoccurring over and over and over again. We've got, you know, 10,000 years of recorded history with an astonishing amount of repetition. It's just over and over and over again, one horrific cycle after another. And that's what we're trying to do with the Course in Miracles. As I share these thoughts with you, and you go deeper into your own realm and experience these ideas that I'm presenting to you, then we get to that next level of healing mass consciousness, because wherever two have gathered together to share a thought, to embrace the idea of peace over war and love over fear and hatred, that's a step to healing all of the collective. All of us who are trapped here in this rather banal experience when you really stop and think about it. Because, you know, there's nothing glorious or exciting or beautiful about the human experience. We like to mythologize our life here. But in truth, you know, 80% of the world is struggling just to get water and food. It's a very bleak world out there that we have created, and we do have the power to change that. So let us share love, let us share compassion, let us share that capacity to console those around us and lift them up to their point where they realize we are not physical bodies. We have physical bodies, and when we depart from this world, we leave that physical body behind. And sometimes that's through extreme violence. You know, when I was in Vietnam, I saw that whole world opened up in front of me because I was somewhat naive. I grew up in an environment that was somewhat sheltered. My grandparents were very good caregivers, but I really had no concept as to what death was. You know, I experienced my father's death, but again, I also felt his presence with me. So to go into an environment of carnage is a whole different circumstance. And that's what we have to be willing to look at and forgive. And that is the hardest, I think, challenge we have as people who are working to awaken humankind in general, is that we have to approach it not from the level of attack, but from the level of forgiveness. So anyway, going on to the text here, we've been kind of bumping around with the text, different parts of it. We were looking at the illusions of the ego, chapter 4, and going to move into this section 4 of chapter 4, and it is titled "This Need Not Be." And just what I was talking about, this need not be. This world that we believe we're witnessing need not be. If you cannot hear the voice for God, it is because you do not choose to listen. And that I mean, that in itself is an encapsulation of the problem that we have today. 99.9% of humanity does not want to listen to the voice and the call of love. That you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior. Yet this is what you want. And when we first start working with these ideas, we run into a little bit of resistance because our ego is kind of spiked by a statement like that. And it says, oh, no, that's not really what I want, And so we have to work our way through 1 or 2 or 3 levels of denial that's going on early on in the course. When we first encounter A Course in Miracles, we do have resistance to it, and it can be very subtle. You can resist it and not even realize you're resisting it. So that constant thinking mind, that ego mind, is always there with a response. Okay, yet this is what you want. This is what you are fighting to keep and what you are vigilant to save. Your mind is filled with schemes to save the face of your ego, and you do not seek the face of Christ. The glass in which the ego seeks to see its face is dark indeed. How can it maintain the trick of its existence except with mirrors? But where you look to find yourself is up to you. I have said that you cannot change your mind by changing your behavior. But I have also said that many times that you can change your mind. So it's not about your behavior. It's about arriving to that point where you're confronting the babble that you have given the ego allowance for, and looking into that babble and realizing that it is creating a meaningless, pointless existence for you. When your mood tells you that you have chosen wrongly, and this is so whenever you are not joyous, that's interesting. If you're not feeling a state of joyousness, then you're probably going along with the ego's game plan. Then no, this need not be. In every case, you have thought wrongly about some brother God created, and you're perceiving images your ego makes in a darkened glass. So all of these people out there that you want to attack and condemn, they were created by God. And if God creates that which is perfect, then either there's something flawed in God's creation, or there's something flawed in your perception of God's creation. Could it be that you have created a caricature out of your fantasy of good and bad, right and wrong, lust and love, all of these different dualistic ideas, and implemented that caricature, placed that caricature on this living being that is the Christ? And that's what we have collectively done here. We have ascribed the role of either hero or villain to virtually everybody on the planet. And the truth is, there was only one creation. God created man in God's image and likeness. So God created perfection, but we decided to run away and have a game of our own. And that's where we got snafu'd. That's where we got suckered into being a victim. And that is the one point that we have to look at about our lives every minute, every hour, and every day. Am I allowing myself to be a victim of an illusory world? And where can I go to reclaim the truth of who I am? And the reclamation of truth is very, very easy. And yet it is such a challenge for us, because the way we reclaim the truth of who we are is very, very simple. We still the mind. The mind is a generator. The mind is the most powerful force in the world. The mind is what is creating the experiences that you think you are having. So when you get to a place where you can bring the mind under control and calm it down, and finally arrive at a point where it ceases to constantly grind away, then you are taking that huge leap into the next level of awakened consciousness. And you don't have to do anything. See, if you just still your mind, God will take over and lift you up. You will have an experience that you have not had in this lifetime. So there is something exciting and dynamic and challenging and wonderful and ecstatic waiting for you. But you have to be willing to confront your mind and all of its misadventures and all of the directions that it wants to take you, and retrain yourself to be able to listen for the voice of God within you. And that's how we deal with tragedy. That's how we deal with triumph. You know, you have those high points in your life and you go off on a tangent and run into a brick wall. And the whole point is to get out of the trick, the chicanery of the ego's duality. The ego is always presenting you with a two-sided coin. Every good thing that you experience in life is going to be, when you flip the coin, you'll find the dark thing, the dark side underneath it. So we're trying to get into a position of being on the middle path, on that road where we're not distracted by good or bad, but we are attuning ourselves to that state of perfection. See, we don't want just good. We don't want bad, obviously, but we want to transcend both of those themes and arrive at a state of perfection, because that is what we were created to be. So that's another little Course in Miracles dialogue here. I hope you enjoyed it. And I would encourage you to really, stop and work on that idea of stilling the mind and seeing what is presented to you in your own personal experience with life. Forget about what's going on in the news, or forget about what's going on down at the end of the block. Don't worry about what the neighbors are doing. Stop all of that distraction and come back to yourself. Come back to the person that is deeper there within you that you don't even know. See, there's a person within you that is the truth of who you are, that is perfect, and you don't know that person at all. How tragic is that? So, in 1 week, we will reconvene, looking at both the lessons and the text in Course in Miracles. You can find my website for A Course in Miracles at www.themiraclewithin.org. It's all one word. So get out there, share the love, pass the love around, and start claiming your power to be joyous. Why would you live a life that was not joyous when that is an option that is available to you? I'll see you in 1 week. Good night.